Hello Ace, this is Ace Combat Fan here, and as you know we got a new Ace Combat 7 trailer during this year's Gamescom, the trailer with the release date, more details on the campaign, and as it is tradition already here in the channel, we're gonna analyze pretty much everything in this trailer. Now if you're Neil, welcome aboard, and I'll try to keep things simple, although I assume you already have some prior knowledge of the previous trailers and you know a little bit of the characters and what's going on the situation. Now personally I really enjoyed this trailer because at the same time it gave us some insights on the story of the game, but it did not spoil or give too much detail of how it's going to be. So there still is a lot of mystery going on around the plot of this game. With that said, I also want you to have in mind as we go on this analysis the idea of contrast. Contrast between the new and the old, contrast between the two countries, Erusia and Osea, between bright and dark, and just keep these ideas in mind because this trailer is pretty heavy on the contrast amongst many things. So the beginning of this trailer might be familiar to those of you who have watched the previous trailers, with the mechanic girl asking about the color of the sky and all that, which to me I still don't get the meaning on how that's gonna be interpreted in the game, but she does says it's dark blue, and right after that we see that the game takes a new tone of being very dark, very heavy, of cool colors or bluish colors. There's even this scene with the F-15 on the air refueling. In the previous trailer it seemed to be like a very sunny day. Now it's like it's very dark, it's almost at night. Also the sequence with the F-35 taking off from the carrier we did have in the previous trailer, but again it was sunny, it was bright. Now it's dark, it's more serious. And for the previous scenes that we've seen before, such as the F-104 taking off, the islands, and this city, which is Selatapura, where the space elevator is located, we kind of had seen them before in previous trailers. Right after Project Ace's logo, we get almost the same thing where we have seen these scenes before in other trailers, but here the aircraft is different. Instead of having the F-18 like the Gamescom trailer, we now have a MiG-29. Now we already knew that the MiG-29 was going to be in the game from previous trailers, but we never had it featured so close up to the camera.
So you simply watch things unfold from a distance.
Now this conversation between the mechanic girl and Cupman is really good because we can take a closer look on the tattoo on her right arm. If you look at her tattoo, which is a bird, and you compare it with a very early screenshot of the game, which is this one, you can see it's the same design. And this screenshot with inside the cockpit is actually from the F-104, and I think it's pretty clear that she was the one flying the F-104 that we see in the cutscenes that was eventually shot down by an Osean F-15, and I think that explains how she got captured, how she became a prisoner, and what happened to her leg, because she does actually have an injury, so that might be because of her crash landing or ejecting and having a bad landing with her parachute.
So you simply watch things unfold from a distance.
Yeah. I mean, who would have ever thought that I'd just go and follow him straight into the enemy squadron like that?
He really is foolish, isn't he?
Yep, sure is.
Sol 1, what's your status?
And now we finally get to know Mihai's call sign and the name of his squadron, Sol, or translating from Spanish or Portuguese into English, the Sun Squadron. This is interesting because many people, including myself, thought that Erusia was more of a French-speaking country, but now it's turning itself into a more Spanish-speaking country. Moreover, the emblem of the Sol Squadron features a sun that looks very similar to the sun found on the flags of both Argentina and Uruguay.
Sol 1, what's your status? Well, I'm feeling a little excited. Trigger's taking the beast head on.
I was very surprised with this part because Mihai is launching a missile while pulling a Cobra, meaning that he is somewhat locked on while still at 90 degrees away from the enemy target, which is now on top of him.
I see the mark on his tail. You defile this country. As long as you're here, this country will never know peace.
Now that's some really heavy dialogue, but the thing is, I don't know who is talking to who, but it sounds to me as if they are talking to the Princess of Erusia, as hinted by another trailer where it said that she was gearing up for war.
The princess encouraged her citizens. She kept the wheels of war turning.
The city under martial law, gunfire and the roar of jets echoing through the streets.
All that remained was chaos and confusion.
And I do believe there is a power struggle between her and the scientist, as we're gonna see later in this trailer. Also, remember what I said about contrast. This time we see the Ocean flag flying while the Erusian flag is in the shadows, but in a previous trailer it was the Erusian flag that was being featured more prominently.
This country will never know peace.
Yet what is a nation?
So right after we see the Erusian flag in the dark, we get this scene where Mihai is asking what is a nation. Now what is a nation is very important because it's gonna bring that philosophy back on asking the meanings of nations, because if you've played Ace Combat Zero, that's like a really important point on what makes a nation. But there's some more theory from myself on that part that I'll address in another video. But you see that the environment is dark. On the next cut we see there's a very old clock. Some of the numbers are missing, and I thought it was interesting that the time that is pointing right now is 9/11. Well, this being unfortunate because this is an airplane game. And there's also on the right side, if you look, there's a phone. But when I say phone, is one of those very old phones, I guess first generation telephones. And on the left side, there's this brick wall, which we have not seen exactly the same, but this in the same style we have seen another trailer as the place where this unknown woman and the little girl with the teddy bear, which we're gonna see later in this trailer again, they are there. So it's as if the location was the same.
Yet what is a nation?
I don't even have a
Originally I thought that this device was a phone, but now it seems like it's an external hard drive. And interestingly, on the bottom it says tester Mihai version 13. And I'm gonna show where this device is used in a few moments.
country to call home.
Just to clear things up, to those who are new, this scene represents Erusia destroying the satellites in orbit in order to destroy and eliminate the Ocean infrastructure with their military satellites and also mess up with their GPS system, although we have seen this scene in another trailer.
I wonder which path you would choose.
And it is because of this scene that I think that there is a power struggle between the princess and the scientist. Because since she is the highest authority in Erusia, why is she even asking him what he's gonna do when she can impose on him what he has to do? Also, one question that comes into mind from this scene is why is the princess and her face, why is it so dirty? As the royalty, she shouldn't be like that. And why is she also not wearing like a proper royal dress and instead is wearing this somewhat of a military outfit in this particular scene? What happened to her? Some frames before, there's also this scene where the princess is apparently in a beach and she's crying. But the thing is, we have seen this scene before, but now it seems totally different. Now it's very dusty and there's some more frames showing perhaps her boot. And we're gonna see another scene ahead in this trailer that matches these exact conditions. It's very dark and also very dusty.
Which path you would choose when looking at Harling's mirror.
To give some context, Harling was the president of Osea in the year of 2010, where Ace Combat 5 takes place. And Harling was this very peace-loving guy who used a lot of the budget for the military for space exploration, and including building the Arcbird, and he had the idea of doing the space elevator originally.
Bridge of peace span into outer space.
It's still possible. Thanks to the bird, we're on even terms now.
So when Princess Rosa says Harling's mirror, that does not necessarily mean this painting that we see there in the trailer, and which seems to be in a gallery, again, with the same girl with the teddy bear that we've seen before. So probably this painting is located in Erusia. Now, as for the painting, I don't really know what to say other than it symbolizes the union of people through this international project, which is the space elevator. Just on the background, instead of just one, we have actually 5 space elevators, and behind it we have a planet. But other than that, that's as far as I go for this picture right here. Very nice reference to the Tower of Babel, which is an ancient wonder, and I think that this codename represents the command responsible for the defenses of the ISAF, the International Space Elevator, that at least in the beginning of the game it should be Ocean.
Ocean fighters do not attack! Shit! I mean, why are we being made to do this?
Remember the external hard drive that we had mentioned before? Well, there it is again in the hands of the scientists, and you can see in the take prior to this scene that it was connected to the computer, which is in turn connected to Mihai's Sukhoi 30, as you can see from this other screenshot from another trailer. Also important to point out that, at least according to the laptop, the whole satellite system has been destroyed, or at least deactivated.
Yeah, I know. I'm heading into hell. Whatever.
After that we have this part, which in my opinion, I think it's the most mysterious one. We have several different takes of that same environment that I've mentioned before, where the princess was, you know, with that black beach and it's all dusty. But now we see the prisoner girl. Now she's holding an assault rifle, which begs the question, how did the prisoner get a weapon? And we see her together with 4 more people, I guess 4 more males. And when we see this image, we can see that they are looking towards a space shuttle on the center of the picture. To the right side we see some cranes, what looks like the remains of some rockets, and on the left side we can see there are some launch pads for the rockets and some antennas. And personally I think maybe there was a crash of some sorts, that's why it's all dusty and so dark. We have some more scenes of this part, and they are pretty interesting because they show a little bit of the background, where we see the mass driver, which is a way of launching satellites into space. Now, those of you who played Ace Combat 5 should remember this mass driver from Mission 6, where it is located in the Bassett Space Center in Osea.
I remember this space center well. The mass driver was built by Osea and Yuktobania as part of their collaborative efforts to construct an international space station. Our anti-war president used the surplus funds that came from cutting the defense budget to build it.
Continue countdown. 3 minutes to launch.
And I think it's pretty interesting that the Bassett Space Center is gonna appear again, or at least be mentioned again, because it's actually really far from the whole action in the Euxine continent, as you can see in this map right here. Also, it was pointed out to me by some of my friends and some of my followers on Twitter that if you look closely, the guy in the middle, he's not just wearing any type of clothes. It seems as if he's wearing like a tuxedo, when you can see, or like, you know, with a blazer and a shirt. And that's very interesting. Like, why is someone like him dressed like that in a location like this? That just doesn't make sense. There are some possibilities of him being a VIP or someone that was rescued, or maybe, I don't know, the space shuttle crash landed, which is interesting because it doesn't look like the space shuttle was on a runway of sorts. So that's at least my opinion. Also note on the background there are some tracers going around, so probably anti-aircraft fire that's still, you know, happening. You can see some smoke going out, so it seems like either like a crash landing, a really bad one, or some carpet bombing in the area.
Adios, you damn fool.
And of course we have to talk about Stonehenge. Now, to those of you who are new to Ace Combat, Stonehenge was a railgun complex built in the late 1990s to destroy asteroid fragments, but that was used as an anti-aircraft gun in some of the wars. Now in Ace Combat 4, 7 out of the 8 turrets were destroyed in the story mode, but one of them was already inoperable at the time. And it looks like they managed to reactivate this one turret here in Ace Combat 7. As you can see in the picture, there are several trucks. I think they are generators. That's why you see the cables connected to this one ditch in the middle. I think that's what's powering Stonehenge. And as you see later in the trailer, Stonehenge is indeed able to fire. We already knew that we were gonna feature Stonehenge in the game, at least the location. But now we realize it's gonna be fully functional. At least one of the 8 turrets. Also, if you look in the middle, you're gonna see that the water reservoir for cooling the Stonehenge, it's not there. And all those trucks are only close to one of the turrets. So that was pretty cool to see Stonehenge come back in Ace Combat 7. Another part that I thought it was interesting is this scene with the F2 destroying what looks like an oil rig, but I don't think this is just a simple oil rig. I think this is a concept of Megafloat. Again, Megafloat appeared in Ace Combat series, first in Ace Combat 3, which takes place after Ace Combat 7, and also in Ace Combat 4. And Megafloat basically is something that floats on the water, and you can make, you know, a little airport or a port, or just make a city like in Ace Combat 3. And I think this is a Megafloat because if you look in one of the platforms, you can see a large transport aircraft on top of them, and an aircraft that size can't just land in a platform that small. So I think they are actually able to connect all these platforms into a larger Megafloat. And if you also look at the structure right in the middle, there's a control tower, there are some ships under, there are probably some surface-to-air missile placements under the first level. So I think this is all very mobile. And talking about Megafloat and reference to Ace Combat 4, I think this might be an earlier location also from Ace Combat 5 called White Valley from Operation Katina. Those of you who played Ace Combat 5 should remember because Erusia had a munitions factory there, although this is just speculation.
10 seconds until the united attack on the Arsenal bird.
There are even rumors of penal units turning on their former allies.
Rumors. What kept the world relatively sane up to that point had been free-flowing data and information. But now, those were gone.
With what the scientist said, I think Ace Combat 7 will feature a lot of the concept of information warfare and how different organizations manipulate, create information or fake news, because that's something we're living, I think, today, and we've seen before in another trailer with the princess watching herself on TV. So I think that's gonna be at least one of the minor topics of the game.
Everybody, give this attack everything you've got.
Although we had seen this drone before in another trailer, this time we get a better view of the UAV, which apparently is gonna be the hardest UAV for us to destroy because it's very maneuverable and very agile.
What other choice do we have?
With the Arsenal bird having a shield that can pretty much defend it from any direction, I think we're gonna have a similar concept to the Ace Combat Assault Horizon naval strikes, where we pretty much had to saturate the enemy shield up to the point where we would be able to destroy it.
I know. All aircraft, form up on trigger, nice and tight.
And with this scene, we get to see another confirmed aircraft for Ace Combat 7, the MiG-21. I kinda expect it to be in the game, but this is the first time we see footage of it there. Also, shortly after, we get another confirmed aircraft, which is the Sukhoi 47.
That's the aircraft my grandfather told me about.
There are pilots like you in every generation, and I felled every last one of them.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Trigger, can you hear me? All survivors, respond.
Can anyone hear me? That aircraft needs to be taken care of.
Can you hear me? Pilot with the 3 strikes.
Yes, I can hear you. This seems to be the new catchphrase of Ace Combat 7 because even the Ace Combat 7 producer Kazutoki Kono and the writer of the story Tsunaoka Tabuchi are using this catchphrase on Twitter. Yes, that's our new
"Yo buddy, still alive?"
Although not as cool. And at the very end of the trailer we get to see a glimpse of a new Ace Combat original aircraft that's gonna appear. Now, there's no information on this plane yet, we don't know its name, but from its visuals, and at least with the blurred image, it looks very similar to the Falcon, which is from Ace Combat 2 and one of the oldest Ace Combat original aircraft. You can tell that by the engine, by the cockpit, and also because of the flag of Osea, which although it's kinda blurred, you can see on the tail. Now in case you wanna have a better idea of what it looks like, here's an image by a friend of mine who's making a 3D model of this aircraft. And here at the very end of the trailer we get to see one of the upper parts of the space elevator where there's a little bit of a switch on its design, and you can see the platform where the astronaut is jumping from since the announcement trailer, and also you get to see a little bit of her jumping when we see the new unknown plane. This is where the international version of the trailer ends, but there's an extra message in the Japanese version. It says something along the lines of, quote, "Wish, salvation, pain, fear, the sky cannot be united anymore," end quote. As if the sky had been split, as it was mentioned previously back in Ace Combat Infinity, in case anyone remembers, but cannot be reconnected anymore. And this concludes the analysis of the Ace Combat 7 Gamescom 2018 trailer. There were many details adding to the story, but at the same time not revealing exactly what's going on and keeping the mystery of the plot. If you've noticed something that I missed in this video, please let me know in the comments because that adds up to the discussion so we can formulate all of our theories. And I'll also be putting some links in the description for especially those who are new to the Ace Combat series. You get some extra information there. Anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And stay tuned to the channel, be sure to like, share and subscribe for more Ace Combat, and see you guys next time.